Hey everyone, welcome to pyrevise. Let's talk about context manager now. Before going to context manager, I will suggest you will refresh your you know skills about iterators, generators, and decorators because that is a useful back information you need for understanding context manager. So if you don't know about them, then just go watch a previous video in this series about iterator generators and decorators and then come back to context manager. If you know about them, let's get started with the context manager. What is a context manager? It handles entry and exit from a designed runtime context gracefully. So if you have some runtime context, the entry into the runtime exit, it handles very gracefully for that piece of code. Let's take an example of opening a file, taking a range of around 1 lakh and opening files. So what we will do? We create too many pointers in the memory. So this I ran using Linux. For Windows it just hangs. Jokes aside, but yeah, I ran this code using Linux. What error I got is too many open files in memory. It's an IO error. Why this is happening? Because we looping for a huge number and keeps on opening files. So too many open file pointers are there in a memory. How you can handle it? Simple way. Okay. Before going to handle it, let's say what's there. So rather than taking a huge number, let's say only 5. Okay, this works perfectly, but what's there in memory? First we pick print dir, we get files and x are there. Okay, now look at this locals variable. As you can see, inside of files key there are too many open intro.txt in our memory. This is bad. It should not be like that, because once you open a file you should close it properly. So how will handle this? So we'll change our code. A simple thing, we removed this only file and we used with keyword, with file open and then appending files. So what happens with is a context manager here. It helps closing the file as soon as you're done with it. So it automatically closes the file pointer or file context. Now what happens? First dir, same things, but if you see the files keyword here inside the locals, everything is closed mode. So files are closed, there is nothing open, so there is no IO error or there is no memory leak. Context manager helps us in saving resources or saving memory leak. This is very important for us in terms of memory management. Now with keyword does it. How does it do it? Right? So you can implement your own context manager using pair of methods: enter, the render method enter, which helps in entering in the runtime context, and exit method, which helps us exit the runtime context gracefully because it suppresses the exceptions. So now we'll see this is our class. It has both overridden method enter and exit. The same file example, class my file is there. So we are for range in 5, we are calling with using my file class, passing the whole our intro.txt to my file, and we are writing hi into the file and appending file to a simple list. We'll see. File gives us in file. Okay, this is package used. Okay, and then now if you see our locals variable, everything is closed. So this is whole handled by the my file class. So this is our own context manager. With does it automatically the Python implementation? If you want to write your own context manager, you have to override two methods, enter and exit, and you write code. So what happened here with keyword, it enters into your enter method, it opens a file. Okay, it is open. Once it goes out of the with keyword syntax, it will automatically call the exit method, and it will gracefully close the file there, because that's what we wrote in our exit method, and that's how whole context manager works. Now we will see how context lib. So there is a inbuilt module in Python, context lib. It is there from I think 2.5. It has all the context manager utilities. So here we are using generator along with the context manager as a decorator. So how it works here, we are using the same for range 5. Open file is one method. We are passing our file into .txt to open file method. So what happens here, as a context manager, whatever written before yield will act as an enter method, then yield file will exit, and whatever written after yield in your generator function will act as a exit method. So here in open is written before yield, so it acts as your enter method, and in file.close is written after yield, so it acts as your exit method here. So this is how you write your own context manager using context lib utilities. Now we'll print the same dir, and if you see the locals, everything is closed. This is using generator plus generator function using context manager. That is a context lib utility. So now we'll see in general what we do. In general, we use hybrid decorator plus context manager together. So, and we know in decorator we override the dunder method call, and in context manager we use dunder method enter and exit. So now what we done here, so we are taking simple example of logging time. So any function going to log time that we use in our decorator, and in our my file we are opening and closing file gracefully. So now this whole implementation, as you can see, time check inherits object, that is our parent class, then my file inherits time check. So when this whole can be used as context manager as well as decorator, I'll show you how. Using as context manager, you simply run your code with my file, pass the file to it with append as in file in the right foo, and append files to the files list. Okay, this way what happens when you pass it, the initialization works. For my file, it's got initialized, it gets entered. Once you my file is writing, opens the file, then exits once you come out of the loop. It does for 5 times because we are in range 5. This way it works as a context manager. Now you want to use the same as a decorator. Add my file. Test and W are just 2 dummy parameters are given because that we needed for initializing my file. So now there is no call method inside my file, so it takes up as an inheritance from time check. Let's time it. We get our function time, start time, end time. Initialize get printed because my file is initialized once you call a decorator. So this way you can use this whole context manager plus decorator in a hybrid mode. So this is all about context managers. Thanks for watching.